Okay, so I've been doing a lot of journaling recently. I've made it quite a big habit of mine. And I sometimes will journal at work. So on like a break, where a lunch break or something, I'll just get a pad of paper and maybe a sort of herbal tea and sit down with a pen and just write my thoughts. Like, you know, if there's nothing else going on, it's quite a nice thing to do. And it's funny, like one of my colleagues, oh well, a lot of my colleagues, like they'll ask me like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I'll just say, "Oh yeah, I'm journaling." And one of my colleagues said something really interesting that really made me think about this topic. And he said, "Yeah, you know what? I don't think I could do that. Like, I just don't have enough thoughts." And that was such an interesting thing for him to say, and I've heard people say it before. Um, but it really illustrates to me like how different people's internal states are. Because for me, hearing that, like, it just feels so obvious, like why I should journal, like because I just have a ridiculous amount of thoughts, you know, and I just kind of thought that everyone had that, everyone is just massively overthinking the whole time, and to be honest, well, I think a lot of people do, but clearly some people don't, and like, I asked him like, okay, like what sort of thoughts do you have? And he was like, well, I'm at work, so I'm thinking about tax, but that's about it. I just thought like my life would be undescribably different if I was like that. I don't think I really want to be like that. Like, I actually enjoy having thoughts. I do find it quite exciting. But that was so weird to me. And I thought like I've had like five soul crushing revelations about my life, and that's just this morning. Um, like the depth of my thoughts are just so uncontrollable, and so I'm just saying this because I think it's very easy for people to be skeptical about journaling or say it's soft, it's not really gonna help you. Um, but the truth is, like, a lot of people don't have your brain and they don't know what's best for you. For so long I kind of shied away from journaling because I thought it was kind of, I guess because it wasn't really like an established self-improvement habit like going to the gym was. It was kind of a bit sort of esoteric, a bit sort of weird. Um, and I also found it very difficult, so there was that as well. But I just think like, as a start, you know, just reckon if you're doing journaling and you're kind of a bit short, because this is just a big block for me with journaling. Is like you're not quite sure about whether you should be investing a lot of time into it. You're not sure if it's really helping. Um, but the truth is, like, if you feel like it's helping, then it's worth it. I think sometimes that's all you really need to be guided by, is just the sense of what's working. And it's not very, it doesn't sound very disciplined to like act like that, but I feel like that's the most productive way to sort of go with the feeling more than anything else a lot of the time. Because journaling is one of those weird things where it's not like starting an online business or going to the gym, where it's all about the discipline and the grind. It's quite, you have to be in quite a sort of relaxed and easy state to do it. And yeah, so just don't let people put you off, basically, because our internal states, what I've concluded, are all just radically different, And I really thought like everyone thought the way I did. Everyone constantly had these weird, like, big thoughts in their brain, but like, like, to be honest, most people don't. You know, most people never contend with what I contend with, and like I say, like, it's a privilege to show up to these thoughts and try to make the best of them. I think that's why I'm so creative. It's why I'm. I think it's given me a very rich life, but it does come with a responsibility to be able to control these thoughts and organise them, which is what journaling does. And yeah, just a lot of people just don't have that. You know, they don't have the same magnitude of these thoughts. Now, you know, everyone's got different problems that are very unique, but in this particular scenario, I think, I don't know, because I just feel like if someone says to you, like, oh, don't journal, it's a waste of time, it's like they have no idea what your brain is like and what's good for you. So I don't let that put you off, basically. And so the second thing I'll just talk about really is like how I journal, like what's my sort of process, because it's really difficult. I remember when I started journaling and I just couldn't get any guidance of what to do. Like I found no videos online about journaling. Like there's one Hamza video where Hamza talks a lot about journaling, but at the time of watching the video, there was only one video I could find where he actually explained like what he did. And obviously, he does gratitude journaling and then sort of deep journaling. But I never really got a sense of what you actually did. When I did it myself, I kind of would just intuitively know what, like, I just write sort of free flow. But I wanted to get more guidance about what the process actually was of journaling, you know. But yeah, I just couldn't really find any videos on it. Like there was one video I found that was like, it just said like, okay, to journal, first step, get a pen. Second step, get a pad of paper. Third step, start writing. And I think it was at that point where I was like, I'll just give up trying to work out about journaling, you know. And I think that there is something in that you do have to just kind of work it out for yourself and experiment with it. But if I had to give you some guidance about what you do, basically, you want to just write down the thoughts that are in your heads as you're sitting there. And they can be as mundane as like, oh, I need to go to the shops later. Or they can be like, oh, some random memory that you had when you were 12 years old that you suddenly random thinking about. And then you can just go and write that down. And don't try and come to answers. Like that's the one thing that's really key to do. Just write things out into words and let that be enough. And the other thing is ask yourself deep questions. So, you know, one question that I write down quite a lot is like, am I on the right track in life? Like, what could I do to improve my life? And I don't write down with the intention of actually answering it. I'll literally just write it down on a piece of paper. And sometimes I feel called to write an answer, like something will come to me, I'll be like, oh yes, let me write that down. But quite a lot of the time, I'll just write down, oh, what is, you know, what am I doing right in life, what am I doing badly? And then nothing will come, and I'll just sit there, and then I'll get another thought that I want to journal about, and then I'll just go on and journal that. But it doesn't matter, you know, because the thing is, what a lot of journaling is setting intention, you know, and you're sort of training your brain to think about these questions and let your brain solve them for yourself. And I do treat like the journal, I've got this journal here, and I do treat it almost like a kind of magic book, you know, like if I write stuff down in this book, I know that like I'll get the answers. It's almost like, you know, the genie in Arabian Nights, you know, where if you just ask the book something, you'll get an answer. You know, if you're wondering some big question, just write it down on a piece of paper, and you won't get it straight away, but it will set an intention, and then you'll go about your day, and your brain will start thinking about it. And then when you sit down again to journal, you know, write out the question again. You know, maybe something comes to mind, maybe it doesn't, but it's all about kind of intention setting. And so that's the other thing I do. And again, like, don't press yourself to get answers, because it's so hard to get, like, really to the bottom of matters. And I think you can do that in journaling. Like, there is this term I come up with, which is like a journaling orgasm, which is where you're journaling and then you suddenly like have an enormous revelation about something. I had this one time when I was journaling about whether I should quit my job, my previous job, and I had a specific moment where I was journaling, and I was suddenly like, oh, yes, I should. Like I figured it out. Like all the kind of little Rubik's cubes in my brain just kind of all lined up together in a second. I was like, yes, it makes sense that I should quit now. But journaling isn't always like this, and I think to get good at journaling, it's better to just focus on not pursuing answers, but just kind of drawing out questions and exploring them, almost as if you have no desire to answer them. Which is difficult because obviously we want answers to questions, and that's kind of why we're journaling in the first place. But there's enormous bounty in just not being too pressed, not too focused about finding an answer while you're journaling, but kind of just taking out the big picture and just being very relaxed and open to what comes to mind while you journal. So that's another thing I do. And another sort of habit of journaling that I do is sort of writing down previous experiences that I've had and how they shape me. So significant experiences, and often I'll just write down almost like a kind of story about it in kind of prose. And then while I'm writing, I'll suddenly think a question to myself about this prose and writing. So I'll put a full stop and I'll sort of write like a question to myself. So let's say I'm writing about I don't know, some party that I went to when I was in sixth form. And then I'll be writing about it, and I'll suddenly think, wait a minute, what year was this? Like, was this year 13? Was it year 12? What time of year? Or something like that. I'll suddenly have a random thought relating to the thing I'm writing about, but it's not really encompassed in the narrative. So I'll put a full stop, and I'll just write, like, when was this event, like, in terms of chronological order? And then I'll write an answer. And it's almost a bit like being a therapist to yourself. So that's kind of how I view it. You're sort of asking questions to yourself about experiences that just really make you think, and it can be really powerful, that as well. So if you're looking to sort of relive old experiences and sort of gain new wisdom from it, that's a great thing to try as well. But I think the one thing I say with journaling really is just don't give up on it, and I'll explain what I mean by this, because I think some stuff you do, I don't know, with journaling, it's just been a long ride to get to where I am now, where I've still got a very long way to go, but I'm enormously further down the road than I was, and I can really see journaling opening up. And, just for so long I was sort of scared to spend a lot of time on it. I thought it was silly, I thought it was a waste of time. And it didn't really feel like it was going anywhere. But it was just a case of my brain sort of getting used to doing it and getting familiar with it and finding my feet with it. One thing I would say with journaling, actually, which is kind of contrary to what I just said, is I don't think you should be too rigorous with it. I think you should, obviously it's good to do it every day, but you don't want to get yourself to the point where you force yourself to journal. Like for me, sometimes I was just forcing myself to journal and it was just getting nowhere. And I'd take some time away from journaling, spend my time doing other habits, and then, a few months down the line, I'd get another desire to journal again. And when I came fresh to the journal, I just got so many more thoughts, and the way I journal was so much more sophisticated. So I do think there's something for kind of practicing it for a period, and then kind of leaving it, and then coming back to it. That's often how journaling's gone for me. So that is one thing I'd say. Just to reiterate, I do think it's different. Journaling is different to going to the gym or starting a business, where you're hyper focused. It's one of those things where you have to have quite a wide and open awareness, and so it's not necessarily to do with willpower or strength. You can't journal really hard. The way you can do a really hard workout, or the way you can work really hard in a business. It's one of those strange things where it's not about that. It's about something deeper. So that's really all that I have to say about journaling. Hopefully you got something to take away from this. I think the most important thing is hopefully just feel a bit inspired about how you can journal, and because that's a really important thing. I think there's no real way to do it. You just got to get inspired and go out and give it a try. But yeah, hopefully there's something you can take away. And as always, top link in the description. I'm doing some coaching at the moment. If you want to get in touch about journaling and stuff like that, it'd be great to hear from you. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.